All right, so the idea behind this book is a long time ago, I would hear fragments of the story that my mother would tell. And if she heard me listening, she would make me leave the room. And it turned out that there was a cousin of ours that was in love with a guy who was incredibly handsome. Thanks, Bernard. Bernard's bringing refreshments. And he had a reputation for being extremely cruel. And I would just hear these little fragments, and then I would be told to leave the room so they could talk about it. So at some point, this was when my mother was a young woman, and she, her first cousin fell in love with this guy, though she was married. And my grandmother said to her, in front of my mother, which is represented in the play, you can't date that man, he kills women. And my cousin said, oh, he's too good looking, I can't pass that up. And that was the genesis behind the book. When I heard that much, I knew that I wanted to write about this material. And so my mother was reluctant to tell me anything more about it, but eventually she did tell me the story. And when I had finished this program at UC Irvine's MFA program. It's a pretty well-known MFA program. The guy that was the showrunner for the Game of Thrones, Dean, what's his name, Dean? Well, forgot his name, Benikoff. He went to that program. So I was trying to think of something I could write that I could, feel a lot of proximity to. And so the idea of this particular thing came to me. So when my mother finally agreed to be interviewed, she was telling me how they discovered, my cousin realized this guy was extremely cruel and that she wanted to return to her husband. And my mother said, what do you think he's gonna do? And she said, if I leave him, he's going to kill me. And, that's, and eventually he did kill her, and then they discovered her body. And as my mother was describing to me what the results of the discovery of the body, I knew then that, I didn't need to record anything anymore. It just fried into my head. And then I didn't bring the photos, but I have photos of them. And, she was, a lovely girl, and my mother was a beautiful woman. And so that's the genesis of the novel. And it was the one novel that I wrote that did pretty well. It did well. It was on the LA Times bestsellers list for a few months. And the next book I wrote wasn't about my mother. My mother said, see, it wasn't on a bestsellers list because you didn't write about me. So there's a lot of pressure to continue to write about my mother, which is just weird. Part of it is my father's part of the book, and I had to think about their wedding and their wedding night, and that was just like nightmarish. So trains did go through tunnels, and that was about basically the genesis, as far as I wanted to get. Okay, Act 1 opening. Adele is sitting at a cafe drinking a cafe au lait when a well-dressed man walks by, stops, and looks at her for a long moment. Adele notices the tension and is, for whatever reason, unnerved by how handsome he is.
Excuse me, do I know you?
As if he had been invited, Lucien crosses the distance.
I thought you were someone I knew, but no, you're far prettier.
Your wife?
No, I'm not so lucky in love.
I don't believe that. You would have any problem finding someone.
Then may I ask if you are married?
Yes.
And may I ask if you're happily married?
The beignets are very good here.
Did you come to the Cafe du Monde often?
Yes, almost every day.
I must leave, but I hope to see you here again soon.
Adele looks hesitant, but Lucien kisses suddenly on her lips. Stunned, she can't say a word, and he walks away. From darkness, Greg walks out onto the stage, and unfortunately, you're Greg. Raz. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, this is I'll just preface this that my cousin
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, he's
Yep.
and you're the guy
Greg
that
Davis.
He's actually physically. I mean, my cousin I wrote this for is in filming a film. I mean, he's in Top Gun 2 or some shit. So he was supposed to read this. So he actually is. So our cousin that was killed is actually, you're playing the character who kills our cousin,
Right.
and he's that guy. So
Right, got it. Okay. Let me just jump straight in. My name is Greg Davis, and I'm an actor, but today, what you'll be seeing isn't a made-up story to entertain you. No. What this is a part of the story about the death of my cousin Adele, murdered by a handsome devil, and I do mean a devil. If he had his way, my whole family would have been killed. And I'm gonna be this handsome devil so that I can understand how a man could be so cruel, so evil. Let me start by introducing you to my family. First, there's Auntie Lita, when she was a young woman. Lita is a strong young woman who loves Helen, her heavy-handed mother, with all her heart and soul, just as she hates her daddy, a lazy wife beater who steals money from their bar and cats around with the skankiest hoes and ignores his children.
through the door walks Helen, a woman who stands upright, is direct and unbreakable. She has shopping bags in hand. They're on their way to shop. Then they see Adele approach. Helen doesn't wait for Adele to reach them. She grabs hold of her tightly.
My, this is a surprise.
I got more time to myself since Renee's been away.
Where to this time?
Ding bang, Sampang, someplace.
But he's sending you checks home. He's sending his checks home to you, right?
Oh yeah, he spoils me.
Spoils you rotten.
Adele punches Lita in the arm, but Mother gives her a look, and Lita doesn't respond.
Gotta keep my little sister in line.
You come and stay with us. Renee's going to sea for what, 6 months? Time enough to be alone in that house.
Oh, don't you worry. I'm keeping busy. You know Lucien Foray?
That's good.
Are you crazy? Don't you know about that man?
I know he's some good looking.
Adele, he's the devil. He kills women.
Lucien kills women? Mother, I don't know who you've been listening to.
Don't be stupid. You don't know that man.
Lucien's sweet as pie. Lita saw him, and she thought he's about the most handsome man she ever did see.
Lita steps away from her glaring mother, ready to dodge a blow. Helen's hand flashed up as though she was going to hit the both of them, but she throws down the shopping bags and flings the door open and retreats into the house without looking back.
Never saw her look so mad.
Mother gets very mad.
Maybe at you. You're scared of Mama. I ain't. I'm a grown woman working and making her money.
She's wrong about Lucien. He must be very good looking for you to be so head over heels.
He is some good looking. Too good looking because I see other women drooling over him. Mama thinks she knows something about him, but those are just lies. He is so good to me.
That's good, but I can't help but think about how right Mother is about everything but Daddy.
Yeah, that's right. How did she ever marry that monster? Guess she had no choice. That's the only reason I married Rene, is to get away from Daddy.
One day I just might throw a pot of hot grits in Daddy's face.
So, when is she going to let you see somebody? You're 17.
Ain't nobody I want to see.
Girl, don't be lying. You scared of her?
I see boys.
Sometimes you have to do what you want. Can't always worry about every little thing.
Love does that to you?
Yes, love makes you a fool, but sometimes you just want to be that fool because love feels so good.
I don't know if I'll ever fall in love.
Oh, Lita, one day you'll learn love does what it wants to you. You feel joy and then you suffer. That's what love is.
Adele waves goodbye as she walks away. Lita sits in the bar at a table writing wedding invitations. She barely notices the white man sitting in the corner slumped over a table, beer in hand. The white man is softly crying. Lita stands and approaches him. She taps him on the shoulder.
You can't be drunk in here. You need to go home.
Lita's shocked to see it's Rene, Adele's husband.
Lita, have you seen her?
Adele, though, not lately.
Change the locks. I come home and the locks are changed. I thought maybe I was at the wrong address because I've been out at sea for so long, but I wasn't wrong. I paid for that house. I can't even go inside and take a piss. Excuse my French.
The locks?
Rene loses it and then starts to cry uncontrollably. He searches through his pockets for a cigarette and then can't find the matches. And a fat roll of bills fall out of his pocket and he doesn't notice. Lita bends over and picks it up for him. He puts it in his pocket so haphazardly that it falls out again, but she doesn't pick it up.
You know, I came home expecting a juicy steak and a beautiful wife waiting for me. But what I get is a dead house with locks I don't have the key for. She's got another man?
Right.
Is she screwing someone?
After he said the word, he realizes what he had done and hides his face with his hands. He was usually a polite man, but couldn't hold his liquor.
I've got to find her. You know something? Please.
Rene,
I'm desperate here.
Rene, stop making a fool out of yourself.
I want to see Helen. Call her out here.
Wait, let me see if she's awake.
Lita stares at sorry.
Rene nods.
and exits. Helen enters and sits exhaustedly into a chair. She doesn't look well, pale and sweating.
Mother, Rene's here.
I wondered when he'd get back.
He's drunk and crazy and brokenhearted.
Adele gone and left him?
Adele changed the locks.
She didn't change those locks, it's Lucien. Get those pills off the dresser and that glass of water.
Lita does as she asks and hands her the pills and water. It takes a long moment for Helen to swallow the pills.
She's left Rene for Lucien. God's playing a joke on me. She's my daughter, but damn if I know what she thinks.
He wants to talk to you.
I expect he would.
Helen walks slowly to Rene, who's slumped on a table. When he sees her, he springs upright.
You!
Rene grabs Lita by the arm and shouts into her face, and he grabs her around the neck and begins to choke her.
Lock me out of my own house? Expect me to take that shit?
That ain't Adele.
What?
That's Lita. Stop beating on her.
That's bullshit. She's my wife and she belongs to me.
You know Lucien Faré?
Color drains from Rene's face. He walks around courageously, kicking chairs aside, sobbing. Finally, he fixes his eyes on Helen and Lita and falls heavily into a chair.
Just leave, Rene. Lucien changed those locks to show you what's his.
But it's mine. I paid for that house with my hard-earned money. Where does he live? I'm going to settle this now. Give me his address.
He'll kill you.
Oh, no. I'm going to be the one who's doing the killing.
Yes, and then you'll be in Angola for the rest of your life, or maybe you'll get the rope.
Rene turns to the door and opens it, but stops suddenly.
You think I'm a coward?
No, I think you're a good man. You truly deserve better than what my daughter's done to you, but she's ruined her life. If you tangle with this Lucien, you're going to either ruin your own life or die.
How do you know?
Helen pours herself a shot of whiskey and hands him one.
Truth is, bad men kill good men. Bad men kill bad men. But rarely does a good man kill a bad man. Walk away. I'm going to do my best I can to make her come to her senses. There's nothing you can do to help, but leave her be for now.
Rene shrugs and walks to the door, but turns to Helen.
You think I'm a coward?
I think you're a good man who shouldn't die because my daughter is a fool. But you're gonna do what you're gonna do.
Helen writes down the address on a piece of paper and hands it to him. Rene exits. Helen puts her head in her hands and sighs.
God,
You think he's going over there?
I gave him an address as far away from Lucian's as I could think of. Lucien would slaughter him like a lamb. When I first heard Lucian's name 25 years ago, it was whispered that he had killed a girl. But killings happened like rain in the Ninth Ward. You could always blame a shooting on the heat or the whiskey. But what people were saying about this Lucien was different. Just a baby, still a teenager, this well-built and well-spoken boy had beaten a girl to death. I was running the family fish market on the edge of the Vieux Carré. You couldn't miss Lucien's girls walking cannel no matter how late and what kind of weather. They didn't wait for a man to come to them. I saw one grab hold of a sailor, and no matter what the sailor did, she wouldn't let go, even when he knocked her down. But then them dark-skinned girls disappeared, and the light-skinned Creole girls appeared, and Lucien got high on himself and started dressing like money was no object. His new girl was Ruby. She was a looker, and she had a smart mouth. I saw Lucien beat her on more than one occasion. Something about her made me want to help her. It was her pride. Lucien could bust her, but she stood up to him. It was pride, and pride wasn't something you saw on these bedraggled girls.
Ruby struts along and stops to fan herself, and Lucien pounces on her as she slaps her to the ground.
Did I tell you to stop working?
It's too hot to be working.
Bitch, you work till I say so.
Lucien pulls his hand like he's going to hit her again, but Helen steps in.
Let me give you a drink.
Helen hands her a glass of water. Lucien is surprised.
No act of kindness. You don't see him that much in these times.
It's just a drink of water.
Go ahead and thank her, Ruby.
Thank you. Can I get more?
Lucien yanks her up and pushes her ahead of him, but before they disappear off stage, Lucien turns to Helen. He smiles
Thank you.
menacingly.
Thank you again for your kindness. And I'm sure we'll talk again.
I think it'd be better if I hold my tongue.
She watches Lucien pull Ruby off stage.
Sometimes I disappear. I vanish. I relocate to Baton Rouge or Houston, where I have women desperate to see me, and I'm desperate to be given shelter when the police or some other of my enemies are nipping too close to my heels. And I have to leave New Orleans until the storms blow over. And I return to my ladies. I own them, you see. The first time they're with me, they'll never be free. I can discard them, but they're ruined for other men. Now, it's not because I'm the greatest lover or that I have the most brilliant mind. It's something else, beyond the fact that I'm handsome. The truth is, I enjoy the cruelty. I make them suffer, and they want me to. They'll die for me. It doesn't matter what I do to them, as long as they're with me. And sometimes, I hurt them very badly. And they beg me to stop. I don't. I don't stop right until when they gasp for that last breath. I don't want to damage merchandise that makes me money, you see, that has value. But sometimes, well, I just can't help myself and I take that loss.
Lucien dusts himself off as though he's cleansing himself.
You know, it's time for me to leave. I got business in Houston, whores to attend to before I return to New Orleans.
Lucien walks off stage. Lita walks onto the stage alone.
Mother passed away suddenly and my world changed. I had the bar to run and I hated the bar and all of the drunks, but I did like the money that it made for us, though it made me have to deal with Daddy more than I could stand. Other than stealing money from the business, he stayed out of my way. He knew that if I had the chance, I would kill him. I had wanted to kill him even since I saw him in the kitchen trying to drown Mother underneath the faucet by bending her over backyard like she was some kind of backwards, like she was some kind of contortionist. I went berserk then and reached for a meat cleaver and swung it at his head and missed by a hair's breadth. I did slice his ear, and he ran out of the house with me, chasing him under a full moon. I knew then that if a man raised his hand on me, I would kill him or die trying. One day I thought I would kill Daddy for hurting Mother, but she passed away quietly from a bad heart. I'd go and I'd never see Daddy again, and I'd never have reason to kill him yet. But time and circumstance had prevented me from leaving. I got pregnant, and for a time, my husband and I had to live with the father I would have just as soon killed. It's not like I had a choice in the matter. It was how I had chosen to live. And that is, if a man tried to hurt you, you had an obligation to kill him. If every woman lived by this code, the world would be a better place. It wasn't an easy thing to do even for me. I hadn't yet killed Daddy, though I thought I would if I stayed in his house for another month. Daddy realized how I was and did his best to try to avoid me. He beat his women, but lived in fear of his youngest daughter. He had reason to be.
In Adele's living room, Lita enters and sits across from Adele.
How wonderful that you're pregnant.
Yes.
What's wrong?
Adele slumps back and twists in the chair in an attempt to conceal herself from Lita.
I'm lost.
Lita rushes over, takes her hand, and tries to calm her as Adele begins to cry violently.
What? What is it?
It's nothing, just too much going on.
You and Rene fighting?
No. We've been getting along great. He always tried to make me happy, and he's going overboard to do that, but it's got nothing to do with him.
What then?
It's Lucien.
Lucien? Is he back?
Yes.
Rene'll handle it. And I've got a friend, a cop, Joe La Piccolo. He can help you. He'll make it clear to Lucien what'll happen if he comes around you again.
Adele shakes her head and Lita nods.
You've been seeing him?
Adele throws herself onto the floor, sobbing, and grabs hold of Lita's knees.
The baby I'm carrying is not Renee's.
God, no.
He's the devil. He led me to this hell.
Tell Rene.
No.
You have to.
Adele looks up at Lita, mascara running down from her eyes.
Lucien would kill him. He told me.
You believe he would?
Adele nods solemnly.
I don't know why you're asking. Of course he would. Without a doubt, he'll kill Rene.
God, Adele.
He says if I don't go back to him, I'm going to pay. He's not joking.
You're carrying his baby. He can't hurt you.
Adele slowly shakes her head and smiles brightly.
Lucien doesn't care about that. If I don't do what he wants, he'll hurt me. Or worse.
Why did you see him again? He was out of your hair.
I was weak. He came right to the house and knocked on the door. Thank God Rene was sleeping.
Lucien walks onto the stage and drags her up from the chair, pushes her against the wall, and violently makes love to her.
You're mine. Come see me or I'll be back for more.
Lucien leaves stage, and Adele returns to the chair near Lita.
So I did.
You just at me. You just need to go away. Los Angeles, Philadelphia, somewhere, just anywhere.
Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. You should go before Rene gets home.
Adele suddenly hugs her tightly.
Pray for me.
Adele exits, leaving stunned Lita on the stage. Lita enters the morgue and she sees the simple coffin on the stage. And she slowly walks to a chair and clutches her rosary. Then she stands and regards the audience.
I got to the morgue and finally found someone to direct me to the service. Even before I reached the morgue chapel, I smelled the reek. It smelled like the days after someone poisoned all the dogs in the neighborhood, and the men piled them up to burn them. But it rained, and they dogs were left there festering and rotten. I held my breath and walked through the doors.
Priest enters.
Miss,
Yes,
is there friends or family coming?
I don't know. I'm here.
Well, I guess we should get started.
The priest begins muttering Latin mass for one.
Mother will want me to come to see for myself what Lucien had done. Adele drowned like a bag of cats. Down there so long at the bottom of the river, she was waterlogged, bloated like a sponge, bleeding water.
The priest finishes his brief service and nods goodbye and slips away. Lita stands up and walks to the coffin. It takes a long moment before she puts her hand onto the coffin. She then looks down to see drops of river water falling to the floor. She suddenly goes mad and tries to pull the lid off the coffin.
I want to see her beautiful face, even though now it had to look like a bloated piece of meat. If I looked at what was left of Adele, maybe I could understand Lucien, a monster who killed the woman carrying his baby. But I don't think anything could help me understand the man I hated more than I loved my own child.
Scene 7, Lucien stands on the stage alone.
I don't want you to be mistaken. I killed her. She came to me, and I beat her, fucked her, dragged her to the alley where I had a trunk, and I shoved her inside, drove her to the lake and dragged her out to a pier, pushed her in it. But it's true that I didn't know that she was pregnant for me. How would I know that? I guess her weakling husband couldn't get her pregnant. Hey, that's between her and God. It's done now, and now it's just a sister who's left. To truly understand what I've done, you need to know that I was born to nothing. The product of a prostitute and a white man. Prostitute who gave me away to the white man, who hated herself, who hated himself for his desire for brown flesh. And my mother hated me because who did she have left to hate? I learned to hate, and I hated women in particular. I valued money and the things money could buy for me, and I thought I could buy myself freedom from myself. And this world, through my possessions, my women. Then Helen comes along and steals my money right from under my nose. If you want to buy a slave, you pay for it. But this good-hearted woman took my possession and set her free without one penny of recompense. She put ideas in Ruby's mind, and Ruby ran off. She had a baby, a little street urchin that Helen took as her own. Beautiful Adele. And I killed Adele because I could, and because I enjoyed killing her. Most importantly, it was recompense for what she owed me.
Lita's walking along, pushing a stroller with her baby boy, and out the shower steps Lucien. He smiles warmly at her in his deep, sweet voice. Okay, I'm sorry.
You better stay away. I'll scream.
Lucien laughs and takes off his hat and fans himself. She begins inching away from him.
Yeah, you Duchamps brought this on yourselves. First, all y'all blame me for everything. Your mother stole someone important from you a long time ago. I can't forgive or forget. She got me arrested. And I did hard labor because of her. She wronged me, and I need to set the scales right. But that's that. My quarrel with your family is over. You can tell her that.
What? You killed my pregnant sister to make things right. Are you insane?
Lucien carefully arranges his hat on his head. He's strangely calm, as though he was thinking things over.
That's neither here nor there. I don't know how Adele died. I miss her. Yeah, I wish she was still with me.
Lita reaches in and takes her sleeping baby out of the pram and puts it gently onto the ground. Then she yanks her stroller over her head, tries to smash Lucien. He blocks the blow with his arms.
Adele's not even your blood. She's no relation to you. Your mother stole her from someone important to me. That's why she hates me. Because I know her story. But I'm not through with you. Or your family. Yeah. You see, I'll be back for y'all. Your whole damn family's gonna die. I'm coming for you.
He tips his hat and walks away. Lita picks up the baby and runs for her life. Lita's alone on the stage, sitting on a chair by a stove with a huge boiling pot. Next to her is a crib that she gently rocks, and the table next to her is a knife.
Lucien was coming for me. He knows Winston has a night shift at the post office and I'm home alone with the baby and that my daddy is drunk in the bar, passed out and useless as usual. He thinks I'm just waiting to die. He's gonna crawl into the house with his axe and cut through the floor and slip in and cut our throats, then set the house on fire, and that will be that.
The sound of chopping.
Lucien believes women are meant to feel pain, to die, because that's how it is.
The chopping and hacking gets louder. We see Lucien rising up from the floor, clutching the hatchet. Lita reaches for the pot of boiling water. And pours it onto his head, and he screams.
Little Winston slept through all the screaming, but it wasn't over.
Lita sees Lucien crawling away, screaming in agony. She follows him as he tries to escape from her.
Please.
You were a beautiful man, a cruel man torturing women because you think we're weak.
Please.
Please?
Lita raises her arm high and drives the knife deep into Lucien's back.
Men like you need to die. We need to kill all of you, hunt you down like the crazed dogs that you are.
I'm sorry.
Don't be. I'm not.
Lita walks back to the house where Lucien tries to stand, collapses on the ground and groans and dies. Scene 8 morning, Winston walks into the house and Lita is drinking coffee at the table. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, at the table.
We're moving to Los Angeles today. Pack up, Winston. Now what? I killed one man, and I might kill my daddy. I don't want that temptation because I know myself, and I know if he kills me, half a reason I will stab him or hit him in the head with a pressure cooker. But I'm gonna kill him.
As Lisa and Winston drink coffee at the table, Greg comes onto the stage.
That's a storybook ending my cousin wrote. But it's not the real one. As far as real goes, Lita didn't kill Lucien. The reality is so crazy that I don't think you'd believe it. But I'm gonna give it a shot. Turns out, Lucien became enamored of beautiful twin sisters who refused to fall under his spell. Maybe he was losing his touch, or just getting older. He didn't have it anymore. But he refused to take no for an answer, and pursued the woman like a crazed dog. Finally, he invades the home of one of the sisters, sets it on fire. That sister dies. The gasoline he used to set the fire splashed back on him, and he was severely burned, but he survived. It doesn't end there. Lucien lives on in the charity hospital burn ward, where folks talked about how they could hear him screaming in pain for weeks before he finally dies. He suffered greatly for all the pain he brought into the world. What I like to think is that he was in his own hell on earth, writhing in pain, as though he was being endlessly burned alive, so that the world could hear his agony. That's what I like to think happened. But Auntie never did kill her father. They even reconciled for a short time. But soon it went back to the way it was, and he fell into ill health, and she was told by her sisters that she could come see him before he died. And Auntie Lita said, I hated him in life, and I'll hate him in death. And she never went to see him. Thank y'all for coming to hear the story of my family.
Any questions? Comments? Do you believe any of this? Do you think this happened? Yeah.
Do they know how many men he actually, or women he actually killed?
I don't think there's a particular number, but seemingly, he killed women. And my mother met his son. And my mother is everything I said about wanting to kill men, my mother had that idea that if a man raised his hand, a woman should kill him. And because of her father, the scene where the father is bending the mother back and trying to drown her under a faucet, my mother told me that story, and that shit burns itself into your head. You cannot forget that. And but she said that she met his son. She said the son was even though he killed her cousin and got after the entire family, he actually was cutting under the floorboards, because that's how you kill people in New Orleans. You go through the floorboards because nobody can see you, because the floors are all elevated because it's Africa. I mean, New Orleans, all that came from the Caribbean. The notions how to build those houses, they were actually kind of based on African notions of home construction that went to Haiti that ended up in New Orleans. So the floors were elevated. So if you wanted to get into a house with no one seeing you, you would go to the crawl space under the house and cut through the floorboards. So the dude was doing that, and my grandmother tossed the hot water on him, and that's when then he left after that. But she met the guy's son, and she said the son was so handsome that she started to swoon. and she pulled herself together. But she actually did have that feeling, that no man should lay a hand on a woman. If the women killed those men, the world would be, a better place.
And just for my own clarity, your mom is Lita.
Yeah, my mother's name was Lolita, and everyone called her Lita.
Okay.
And I'm sorry I didn't bring the photographs, but she was a very lovely woman. And New Orleans, the whole thing about color spectrum, you can have somebody in the family who looks absolutely black and somebody who looks white, and they're like sisters. So color was a very peculiar kind of thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Was Winston your father?
Yeah, my father's name was Hillary. But New Orleans people don't pronounce words the way they're written.
Hillary.
Yeah, Hillary would be how it was pronounced down there. Yeah. And any other observations or anything you guys want to say, or? No?
I don't know, now I have to look at the book and read the whole thing.
Yeah, well, we'll be down in New Orleans pretty soon. Jingwan, we haven't brought the baby to New Orleans, so we'll bring her. But I have a 3-year-old daughter. It's very much like my mother. She's like fierce.
So cute.
Yeah, she's very aggressive. So it's interesting. She'll be going to China in a couple of weeks to see her relatives. And I wonder how they respond to her tremendous aggression. In New Orleans, it'll be like, yeah, that's kind of like how it is in the family. But, yeah.
I just had a question. This was a theatrical adaptation, or was this from the book?
You know, I'm not a playwright, so I was essentially trying to find the scenes from the book that I thought would, you know, the idea is to make a film out of it.
Right.
So we're trying to figure out, you know, how to go about that. So this is part of the process of doing that.
And then was it like as a writer, was it character driven or more like plot driven, or like did you let the characters kind of like speak to each other and they kind of like went, or
You know, I mean, I knew the story.
yeah,
So the story was driven by,
the plot?
yeah, I mean, you know, I was interested in the fact that a cousin of mine was killed and everybody knew about it. And I also know the characters because they're, you know, yeah, they're real to me. So, yeah, it's like I could inhabit my mom's character, yeah, because I know her voice. And that, you know, I was scared of her. So, yeah.
How much of Lucien's backstory is true?
Most of it was just told to me, you know, that he, no problem, it's fine. That he was obsessed with this woman and that he wanted to kill her, and he did kill her, and he put her in a trunk and threw her in the river. And, yeah, and then when they pulled her body out, I was interviewing my mother because she finally told me the story when I was like 25, maybe I was 30. And she said, you know, they had to have the funeral at the morgue because her body was so decomposed they couldn't have it at the church. And she said as she was kneeling with her rosary saying her prayers, she heard dripping, and she looked up from the corner of the coffin. She could see river water dripping to the floor. And you know, you can't make that shit up. There's no way you can imagine that. You know, it's a function of somebody telling it to you. And I stopped. I was recording everything she said, and I stopped recording it because I didn't need to anymore. It just became part of it. But yeah, it wasn't unusual. I mean, like, people killed women. You know, men killed women if they felt it was inconvenient for them. You know, some guys, they had that kind of view of the world. You know, I'm not exactly sure how that evolves, but I think it's just it's the fruit of cruelty. You know, if men experience cruelty, you know, they find someone that they feel like deserves the cruelty they felt, and they inflict it upon them, and often it's women.
I really like the line where you said, who does she have left to hate? I thought that was really solid. That was really good. I think you guys did an awesome job reading this.
Well, thank you. A great cast.
Sorry for banging my I scared all of you.
So we're hoping to be down in New Orleans filming this sooner or later, and you know, Amber's gonna get killed as Adele, so that'll be good. Amber actually resembles Adele, but so when I show her the photograph, she's gonna be like, she was my student at UCLA, and I have another student from UCLA, so you know, very talented writers. So yeah. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Jervey.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys.